Okay, I'll start from the beginning again. So, yeah, two apologies. One is the quality of some of the slides are a bit grainy. I've tried to improve them, but yeah, they're not too good. As David said, this will be in two parts. The first part is a PowerPoint presentation I put together on a number of slides. And the second part is a couple of videos that I've got from the Gainsborough Model Railway Society, who've given me permission to, copyright permission to both use their slides and the videos. So without more ado, I shall go ahead. Okay, so welcome. As you said, it's one of the, I don't know how many people, how many of you are familiar with this, but I had the couple of years back, I had permission from my CFO, her indoors, to spend a weekend away, which I spent at Gainsborough, and then going up to York to the Model Railway exhibition there and into the National Museum. So yeah, it was my first visit to Gainsborough. Read a lot about it, and it lived up to expectations, as we say. Just a little bit of a forward from what was from the souvenir magazine, and a comment back from the vice president at the bottom. Where it's located, in the centre, it's the old, must be one of the luckiest railway societies who've managed to get their own premises in terms of an old school, which they bought in the 50s. God knows how much it costs today, but a fantastic location. So what I'll do on this is I'm going to split it in a couple of things. I'm going to give you a little bit of a history about the main line to set the scene, and then that follows into the model railway itself. Most of you are familiar with the main line, now part of the East Coast main line, up to London to Edinburgh. The Leeds section is basically a branch line. But 1923 saw the grouping into the later Never Early section. They absorbed the Great Northern Railway and other companies, forming the East Coast route. 1948, the railways are nationalised. We all know that, of course. And that is the day that the Gainsborough have modelled their railway on, around the 1948 area. Stations and road vehicles are also from that era as well. King's Cross, 1852, it was opened. Queen, I never know how you pronounce this. I'm probably the later variety. I call it Queen Boadicea, but people now say it's Boudica. I don't know which one's best. And then, of course, you've got the Harry Potter connection from platform 9 3/4. I've added a couple of slides because I want to show how the actual station and the model compare. So this is an earlier shot before the portico or extension was built. I quite like this scene. I think it's better this way than as it currently looks at the moment. Then, of course, you've got the famous canopy and the stations. Keep an eye on this slide, and we'll see how you think about the model. So, onto the station, onto the railway itself. It's the King's Cross to Leeds main line route in O gauge. So it's quite a large gauge. For those of us who are modelers in N or OO gauge, this is quite a large gauge to model. Locomotives in rolling stock between the 1920s and 1930s. Those of you with keen eye will spot a couple of interlopers from later eras, but again, most of the vast majority of stock are from that era. That's the plan of the railway. It does show a loop, continuous loop, if you like. You can see it here. But generally, it's split between three old classrooms with walkway all the way through, so you can get a very, very good view of the layout. Train operation. Unlike most model railways, this runs to a timetable. So trains actually start a journey, go to a destination and come back. And they call it all intermediate stations. So each session will dispatch and receive return trains. So it makes an interesting viewing and time goes by very quickly. Just a little bit of information: 150 locomotives, 100 coaches, 200 wagons, 150 pieces of point work, which are all hand built, and half a mile of track work. That's in actual measurement, with 9 stations. Society itself was formed in 1948. 1949, they moved to their current premises, and they started building it in 1949. Okay, I'm not going to read this all, but it gives you an idea of how this has progressed. I think they are very, 1954, they were very fortunate to get Alan Pegler, or 1963, as a chairman, and he contributed quite a lot to the what I would call the advertising of the of GMRS, together with helping them to pay off the mortgage on the building. So I wish we all had benefactors like that. Yeah, the layout being over 60 years old, you have to keep up some maintenance on it. So 1980s, third rebuild of baseboards. Also an installation of a mezzanine floor to house a workshop, and the building of quite a nice buffet. Do quite a nice tea and sausage rolls. 90s, signalling was introduced, rebuilt King's Cross, plus a new entrance. And we come up to date. Fern Park is the goods yard next to King's Cross, and then some other work on the building itself. So enough of this. That's a model of the station, which I think is quite an accurate. Yeah, if you look at that for the first time and then you take away the backgrounds, it's a pretty accurate model of the actual station itself. Gives you some idea of the size. Again, apologies of the condition of the slides, but can't do anything with the graininess. Looking back on the stations, 7 and 8 platforms. You would say that that was practically in a life-size photograph of the original, except for the 2 gents in the background, which give it away. But again, it shows the attention to detail on the station itself. I said there are a couple of interlopers. I'm not certain when the diesel ran, but I don't think it was between in the era it was supposed to be. That was a nice touch. I quite like this one. Shows the departure board. Again, looking back from the station over the entrance to the, what are the Copenhagen, sorry, the 2 tunnels. This is the, oh, excuse me. Okay. Yep. Oh, sorry. This is the Goods Yard Fern Park at the background here, which will show laser. And then Hornsey Station is here. It shows how you can actually walk around the complete layout. That gives a nice view from the other side. Shows the entrance, the station throat, turntables down here. Fern Park, Goods Yards are here. We'll come back to the control panels later on, later in the slideshow, but there's quite a good stories behind that. Again, I'm sorry for the graininess, but gives a good idea of the rolling stock coaches that they're using. Life-size trains, to try to keep an operating sequence going. This is what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 carriage train. I'm not sure about the, maybe someone at a later stage can tell me what the green and yellow carriages are. I'm not certain which, which area they service.
The Isle of Sodor.
Is it? Ah, okay. I thought
it's tourist stock livery, isn't it?
That's right. Too.
Yeah, I thought it was Irish, to be honest, but I couldn't think of what the hell was doing in it.
Yeah,
But again, it shows the
make them look pretty.
it shows the depth of the station of the model station in terms of the rake of carriages. It's quite an impressive shot. Again, not sure what this is doing on the layout. Probably gone forward in time or gone back in time. It surely shows a nice stable of steam locomotives ready to be turned. This is one of my favourite photographs I've put up. It's from through the tunnel looking back. I quite like this photograph. I think it's a quite well taken. Nice rake of teak rolling stock behind there. And the station pilots ready to do their job. So this is looking at Fern Park, the Goods Yard, one of the later additions to the layout, plus the car transporter section here. So if you can imagine, at the top here, just out of shot, is Hornsey, and this will then, the goods traffic will then come onto the main line at Hornsey. Yep, looking back, this is Hornsey Station with the entrance to the Goods Yard here.
Okay, I done.
Okay.
Yes, okay.
Yep. Hornsey is also the.
You should mute yourself. Sorry, I don't.
Yeah, Hornsey also serves as stabling for some of the coach rolling stock ready to be taken into. All right, ready to be taken back into King's Cross.
I done. Okay.
Then move it across it.
Yeah. Okay. I done.
Okay. So again, looking back, this I think is Hatfield Station. It gives you an idea of the what I would call the level of the track. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 levels in total, which gives some idea of the way that they've incorporated the whole track sequence into 3 rooms. Again, just looking back onto the goods yard. I'm not sure which way, if I'm a goods person or a passenger person. I quite like some of the operating traffic on goods vehicles, on goods traffic. Again, looking back down towards Hornsey Station, this is Hatfield, I think. Ready? Yep, Hatfield. Yeah, there's a Bay station here. Yep, you can see the DMU ready in the background. There it is. Parcel service. Yeah. When were these Deltics on first brought in? Certainly not in the 30s. So I think it's a bit of modelling license.
Early 60s, I think they were, weren't they?
Mm. And Retford, another station along the line. Yeah. From another view, a nice rake of Pullman coaches going through. So this is the second of the classrooms, with the third one behind here. Doncaster? Yep, Doncaster Station. No, Retford, sorry. It's got its own goods yard here. This is Fitzwilliam, a fictional station, but it's also the home of Sir Geoffrey Boycott. I don't know what he's got to do on the layout, but someone must be an avid cricket fan to actually modelled the station. And then we reach Leeds Central. This is the not the original station. I know it is modelled on the original station, which has since been demolished. Again, there's a turntable here allowing locomotives to be turned, with pilots to take the carriages out. Again, operation follows very much to mainline an actual practice as possible. View Leeds Central looking back. I think it's a duplicate slide, but. So when we start looking at a bit more detail, started off with hand-built brass track, but then as the proprietary track work came on board, especially from Pico, they started converting to Pico streamlined nickel silver rail. Point work is all custom built, which, all right, it's a larger gauge, so it's not so fiddly, but so fairly, if you look at the amount of point work on here, that's an enormous job. Construction. Yep, it's a 3/4 inch chip on 3x1 or 2x1 wooden framing, 2x2 legs. Obviously, with a layout of this size, it's impossible. It's a permanent fixture. It's impossible to exhibit. So Gainsborough got neatly around this. They're open once a month on a Sunday for visitors to come. They charge £4 to enter, and you can spend as long as you like walking around, chatting to people. So it's an interesting way of getting showing the layout and the model to the public. We get onto the electrics. Layout of this size, it really suits analog control. Even more so when we come on to the signal box control, or how the operation of the trains are controlled. Point motors, military surplus, or circuitron tortoises, and interlocking points of signal control, which is interesting on a model layout. Yeah, for those of you who are familiar with point motors, it's a interesting design. Semaphore, they've changed the signalling in the 80s, I believe, from semaphore into colour light signalling. Again, bespoke design. For those of you who are got their own model railways, I know on my own it's a 10x8 model. The amount of wiring that goes underneath it, you do need to make sure that it's color coded. So to standardize on, I think they've, yeah, 3 colors. All right, I tend to think I need a lot more than that. We'll come on to one of the, for my mind, one of the more interesting parts of the model railway, which is the way they actually control it. They've tried to mimic actual block control by modeling or controlling and operating the layout of the railway through 10 individual control panels or signal boxes. So this follows the normal bells and block systems. Trains are offered and accepted, introduced in 1889, but still in operation. Unfortunately, it's not labour intensive, although I did hear somewhere that as they open somewhere in the East Anglian and Lincolnshire, that they are still being maintained. I'm not sure whether that's true or not. This gives you an idea of the control panels. I said there are 10 of these, each controlling individual sections. As you come back to it, you'll notice that there are on either side bell controls. These are straightforward gauge master panels. Gives you a closer idea of the bell system, how it works with the control panels. One of the things that you notice as soon as you walk into the building is it's a cacophony of bells. So you've got 10, if you like, signal boxes, each accepting and delivering trains through their section, all through traditional bell code practice. So to be able to operate your control panel, you need to understand quite a lot of the signals or the bell code signals. It's yeah, I'm quite fascinated by the whole practice. So we come on to the locomotives. 1949, when they started, locomotives were, I would say, primitive. A lot of the not very good quality these days, but they started building their own locomotives, hand built, and as kits gradually became more easy, they turned around to kit form and scratch build. But most of the early operation of locomotives were all hand built. We'll come through some of the standards. The interesting thing as we go through, you'll see some of the A4 Pacifics. If you remember back in 2013, the National Railway Museum lined up 6 Gresley A4 Pacifics. Well, GMRS mentioned that they're able to stage a lineup of no less than 11 Pacifics, and they've since added a 12th. So yeah, I like to think that they're mirroring the life size or actual operation. Come on. I buggered it up. Excuse me. Ah, that's it. I'll just flick through these to give you some idea of the quality of some of the locomotives that they are building. It's quite a nice shop. Mix freights and a mainline passenger service. Of course, if you're going to model from the 30s, you do need to have a mallard present, don't you? Attention to detail on some of these locomotives are phenomenal. I know, talking to John Denbury, who builds these in a larger scale, it's a lot of admiration for people who can get this amount of detail on scratch build locomotives. So carriages and wagons. They mimic actual operation by trying to maintain rakes of trains and carriages as they would actually be operated. So you get a chance to see a complete rake of passenger carriages in teak or blood and custard, or even the Pullman rake. This gives a nice sight of the mixed passenger carriages available. At the back, yeah, that's the Pullmans. Again, a rake of teak, linear teak carriages. And some good mixed freight traffic. There is another model of Copenhagen Fields run by the Model Railway Club. That's still being in development, but that gives another if you like, another aspect to King's Cross. And that's the end of it. This is I quite like the summing up of this. It's not a model railway, it's a working museum. It is a phenomenal layout run by what I would call dedicated enthusiasts. They do, as I said, they keep they open up once a month to the public. You can join the GMRS as a patron if you can't get up there every time. So they're more than welcome to accept new members. With members' nights, I believe on a Monday, but they are as with everyone. Everything is still shut down, but I believe they are talking about opening in June or July, and will be opening up again on a Sunday. So that's the end of it. That's the end of the first part. Do you have any questions on there at all?
You've stunned us into silence.
Stunned silence, isn't it? Yeah.
Your question about the green and white coaches, they were the local services on the London North Eastern, I believe, and the North Eastern region. I can remember seeing that colour scheme in Newcastle Central on the local trains. And Fitzwilliam at that time, I'm pretty certain, did have a station. It is an actual village that the line goes through from Doncaster and Leeds.
Yeah, I think, let me see if I can find a little bit more about the station itself. Chose the name because the station had been short-lived, opening in 1937 and closing in 1967. Few people remember what it looked like. Fitzwilliam was also at the time of the home of Geoffrey Boycott. No sooner had we opened the Fitzwilliam station than British Rail reopened their station in 1982. So just a little bit of information from there. Sorry, I've been reading from their souvenir brochure at the same time.
Henry, one of the things I wanted to ask, did you get to talk to on how they control the development of it, and making sure everybody's working on the current sort of project in the right direction, and they've got no people going a bit wild wanting to do their own thing? How do they coordinate all of that with such a lot of development going on?
To be honest, I don't know, but it seems to be an extremely well-run model railway society. I've been members of a number of societies over the years. As you said, it's always difficult to control with direction. I can only think that with a layout of this size and of this nature, that the layout or the actual line dictates the model development. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's like they've got to have a proper railway, isn't it, with a general manager and somebody
Absolutely.
in charge of motive power, somebody else track, somebody else electronic, all that sort of thing. And people have got to be in charge, haven't they?
Well, doesn't
And they're all volunteers. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you think that they're trying to operate to actual or mimic actual operation, isn't that how actual railways operate?
Well, that's what I said. I
Yeah.
think they've got to do that, haven't they, somehow?
Absolutely.
With all volunteers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what's phenomenal, I mean, if you notice through the layer or through the slides, it's not just retired gentlemen of a certain age.
Not,
there
is
are
it?
a lot of
No.
younger people in there as well, which is encouraging.
Yes, they've got plenty of kids on the younger people on the control bits and the electronic bits, haven't they? Looking at it, yeah, which is promising.
It is. I said it during the presentation, but the control panels and the way they control the locomotives, I just find absolutely amazing. You can stand by one of the control panels and just listen to bell codes coming in, traffic being accepted, and then traffic being exited or offered up to the next section, and all through traditional bell codes, which of course is the traditional operation of the signal boxes.
Yeah.
But to actually see it in operation in a model railway is absolutely phenomenal.
I visited there about 35 years ago. At that time, it took 12 operators to run the layout. They had 11, they couldn't do it. They needed 12 to operate the system.
Yeah. So they've got 10 control panels there. I don't know how long you need to be trained to do it. It's certainly not. It's certainly not something you can do overnight, isn't it? Unless your name's Quasimodo, of course. It's well worth a visit. I mean, I've read so much about the layout, and to actually go and see it is well worth a visit. It's a phenomenal place to go to. Do you want to take a break, David, and then I can get the video set up?
Yeah,
And,
well, I was thinking that. So if we have a 5-minute break, so come back at 2018. Henry, a quick one. Have you got permission to record the videos?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine.
Yep.
I'll just pause the recording for a few minutes. Right, so back in 5 minutes. Yep. We're ready to go when you are.
Yeah, I'm. It should be starting. That's it.
Can I just suggest to everybody that they sort of stop their video, and that might help the picture.
And takes it out to Finsbury Park carriage sidings for servicing, thus releasing the A4 to run onto bottom shed. Lack of space has precluded modelling top shed to be loaded, watered and turned, ready for its return working. Naturally, the station is very busy, and here we see simultaneous departures. An N2 on a quad art, only going as far as Hatfield, and a Gresley A1 on the Parliamentary to Peterborough. The Parley, as this train was known, came into being by edict of the Board of Trade in the 19th century, ensuring that all railways ran at least one train each day, excluding weekends, in both directions, stopping at every station on a section of line. A Raven A2, City of Ripon, arrives from the north with a train from Doncaster. This is the example rebuilt with the Gresley boiler and cab. Seen from the station concourse after the A2's arrival, an IVAC C2 brings in a green and cream rake of tourist stock.
Tourist stock.
Also seen from the concourse, we observe an N2 bringing in empty parcel vans to be loaded on platform 1. One of Gresley's brand new V2s heads for the capital on a tourist set and passes one of the celebrated Masters V2s, Earl Marshall, on a running-in turn from Doncaster plant. She'll soon head back north to resume her work on the Edinburgh-Aberdeen main line, for which she was designed. These magnificent 282s, the most powerful steam express passenger locos built in Great Britain, were rebuilt by Edward Thompson, Gresley's successor, into ungainly Pacifics during the war. However, with a model railway you can alter history, and the society runs both sorts together. The north end of Gasworks Tunnel sees a pair of expresses passing. Hornsey is the first station on the main line that the group has modelled. We observe a typical selection of main line and suburban trains passing through this busy location, including the A4 hauled west right into the lead. Next to the station is the loco shed, including its cenotaph coaling tower. In this view, a D16-3 from Cambridge is being coaled. Most suburban trains stopped at Hornsey, and here a typical outer suburban quad arc set is hauled by an N2. Despite its huge size, the line still has to operate on different levels, each level representing a different piece of the route. In these views, Hatfield Station can be seen, surrounded by other sections of the East Coast Main Line. Important junction of the main line, linking the north-south Great Northern with the east-west Great Central. Space has meant that only the main line is represented, though Great Central trains run through the station as well. Doncaster, the hub of the East Coast Main Line, where many of the celebrated locomotives of the route were built. In this scene, we see an A3 heading south with a Pullman rake, passing an A2 on a travelling post office. The 1930s-style main station building at Doncaster has been accurately modelled, though due to site restrictions, it's actually situated on the downside on the model. At Gainsborough, only the line north from Doncaster to Leeds is represented, and Fitzwilliam is a typical station on this stretch. To celebrate the railway's 60th anniversary, the A3 locomotive 60046 Diamond Jubilee, winner of the 1900 Derby, 2000 Guineas and St Ledger Classics, was built and presented to the Society. Central, the end of the line. This busy, though cramped station replicates Great Northern operations in this West Riding metropolis. The prototype Leeds Central closed in 1967 and all traffic was transferred to City Station, where it's operated from to this day. An A4-60019 Bitton comes at Copley Hill and couples up to its southbound express. Yorkshire Pullman stock is shunted into position as a Thompson A23 runs in with an express. As the Pullman departs, the TPO from King's Cross arrives at Central Station. King's Cross Goods and Minerals sees lots of freight operation. Naturally, tender locos have to be turned, and here we see a Gresley Tango 280 using the turntable. Many of the prototypical scenes modelled on the system can be visited today. The casual observer might well be confused as to what he or she sees. Certainly, King's Cross is instantly recognisable, though not its track work and signalling. All the wonderful semaphore signalling has disappeared, and many of the stations today have been so rationalised as to be almost unrecognisable. However, delight in these scenes when the line was in its steam heyday, 45 years ago now, and more. Today, Class 91s and fixed GNER sets fizz between London, Leeds, Newcastle, Edinburgh and Glasgow, with a few HSTs for Aberdeen and Inverness. Such is progress, but the Gainsborough Society allows us to wallow in nostalgia. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. If you saw its like, remember the scenes with affection. If you were born too late, just watch what you missed, for its like will never be seen again.
Right, so I'm going to do the next one, this one, straight away.
As we depart Leeds Central, another train passes as we go through the first tunnel. We then go through the small Fitzwilliam station before approaching the bridge. A brief pause before going through Doncaster station, and we're off again. Another train passes just before approaching Retford station. The track then leads into the dark undercarriage of the layout. As we leave the darkness, we approach Hitchin station. Anfield station quickly passes by before another dark entry into the undercarriage of the layout. Hornsey station then draws us through before pausing to allow another train to pass. We then go through the final tunnel, which leads us through into London King's Cross.
David, do you want to me to repeat any of these two again or not?
No, sorry, Will. I think we can leave them as they are. Thank you.
Okay, I'll stop it then. Okay.
I'd like to see the plan of the layout again. That's
Yeah.
it. That's all. Oh. Oh, it's too small now.
All right, I tell you what, I'll go back to the presentation. Let me see if I can just go back a bit.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Hang on.
Pause.
Got to freeze it somehow.
That's it. Is that okay?
It's a bit dark, but
Yeah, otherwise I can go back and I've got another one on this similar one on the presentation I did. Might be easier than that.
someone put a lot of thought into that, I think.
It's
In the space.
when you think that there are three, it's effectively in 3 schoolrooms, and to actually get the layout to flow, I think it's an amazing piece of engineering, to be honest, railway engineering. And if you look carefully, you'll see that they built in a continuous loop as well, which is this one. So there is a continuous loop in there. Yeah, there's a continuous loop all the way around, which of course that you can use to watch trains, if you like. So yeah, it's an interesting layout. It really is. And I don't think until you talk about it, but until you actually see the video, you get an understanding of just how the thing flows. I quite like the second one. I quite like the cab view. I think it's quite a nice way of doing it.
Okay, any questions for Henry?
I'll
Shall we
stop
stop
sharing.
sharing at that point?
Yep, there we are.
Have we got any further questions for Henry? Right, okay, Henry, thank you very much for a very entertaining evening. I've only visited the railway once. Oh, can't remember how many years ago now. We had a trip from Lutterworth up there and visited other things in Lincolnshire. So I'm with you. It's well worth a visit when you combined it with something else in the area. But it's incredible that it's survived as long as it has, and in their own private building, isn't it? When you think about it, I know here at in Lutterworth we're having fun at the moment with our building, and I know the fun we had when I was a member of GRES, and when we were, I think it was the tavern, whatever, down at Higham Tavern. We had a bit of a building with. So to survive this many years is really something, and it is an incredible layout. So thank you for your effort in putting this all together. And so can we thank Henry in the normal way, please? Right. Well, our next meeting is in 2 weeks' time on June the 17th, when Bob and Henry are going to talk to us about Gravesend West Street branch. So I will endeavour to send you a link a little bit earlier next time round. Somebody needs to remind me, but you will have a link, even if you only get it 2 minutes before the meeting. Put it in your diary now. June the 17th, 7:30 p.m. So thank you all very much for coming, and we'll see you in a fortnight's time.
Thank you, David.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Right.